Imagine islands drowning in fog. The sea is impenetrable, visibility almost zero. From beyond this impenetrable mist, island looms. It is Pyandonia. It's from there that the Maormer originate, the people of the Sea Elves, known for their mystery and cursed isolation. Their kingdom is inaccessible to outsiders. Even for the finest sailors, the waters around the islands are treacherous and full of dangers. Pyandonia is a place that shapes its inhabitants. It's here that their fleet is born. Here is a place that their sea magic and rituals develop. Those very practices that make the Maormer so different from other elves. What lies beyond the fog? How do the Maormer live? And what made them one of the most mysterious elven races of the world of the Elder Scrolls? Let's find out together. The history of Sea Elves begins long ago among the legends of the famed cradle of all elves, Aldmeris. It was there that King Orgnum lived. His past is depicted on ancient tapestries found in the Crystal Tower, telling the story of a wealthy Aldmeri nobleman named Orgnum, who, in his greed and lust for power, financed and led a rebellion in Aldmeris against its rulers at the current time. The rebellion was crushed, but the consequence for Orgnum and his followers was eternal, and it was an exile from Aldmeris. Their new home became an archipelago of islands, Pyandonia, which from that time on was to remain forever behind a wall of fog, a fog that could not be bypassed. Presumably, this measure was highly effective, as there's no historical record of Orgnum or his people ever managing to return to home. Thus began their life in exile. Over the centuries, most likely as a result of interbreeding between elves and the local beast folk of Pyandonia, a unique race in the world of Tamriel was born, the Sea Elves, the Maormer. At a first glance, they resemble high elves in appearance, but their skin has a distinctive coloration, ranging from pearly white or grey to blue or green. Some Maormer have strange chameleon-like skin that is almost completely colorless. The ears of the Maormer are broader than those of other mer and flare along the outer edge, resembling jagged blades or fish fins. Maormer eyes appear in specific shades: light blue, sea green, or even white, where the color of the iris and sclera are nearly indistinguishable. Maormer may also sometimes possess gills, and their tongues can dissolve water. Thus, every sea elf can drink seawater without an issue. One source from ESO mentions that Maormer bones are more flexible than those of other elves or humans. The nature of the sea elves is temperament, impulsive, and deeply rooted in their culture is hatred toward the inhabitants of the continent, especially the Aldmer, the descendants of the Aldmer, those who exiled their kin to Pyandonia. The Maormer take on two known forms, a typically elven one and another more bestial. An example of the bestial form is the Maormer Leviathan, said to originate from the interbreeding of sea elves with sea serpents. Leviathans are wild, difficult to tame, and mainly remain among other Maormer who keep the Leviathan's impulse tendencies in check. In appearance, behavior, and agility, they somewhat resemble feral vampires. This type of sea elf is characterized by the presence of scales on the body and a massive, hunched posture. And if that is not enough to present Leviathans as extremely dangerous, it should be added that they can widen the opening of their jaws to devour a victim whole. The specialty of inhabitants of Pyandonia is, of course, the broadly understood art of seafaring, but powerful magical abilities are not foreign to them, especially mastery of water, air, and storm magic. Changes in wind direction, calming or agitating the sea, and unleashing powerful treacherous storms can all be the work of Maormer mages. Thanks to these abilities, their fleets are nearly unbeatable at sea and pose a tremendous threat to other vessels. Using additional serpentine magical totems, their mages can perform bloody rituals that drain life. Moreover, in a martial context, Maormer units often employ wild sea beasts in their military operations. It's no simple task to break the will of such a beast, but once achieved, their presence in the countless attacks on Somerset proved invaluable. Some of these beasts are Orgnoms. They are used as mounts in combat units. Those elves who wield serpent magic have the ability to enchant sea serpents for swift sea travel and surprise attacks. And if that fails, the alternative is summoning storm atronachs, which serve their masters without any issue. All of these unique abilities were used by Orgnum in his attempts to conquer Tamriel, primarily during the numerous raids on the Somerset Isles. Orgnum, as a powerful mage and undead leader, etched his name into history in letters of blood. Hatred of the Altmer is nearly inscribed into the soul of every sea elf, and Orgnum ensures that his subordinate clans remain disciplined and constantly ready for battle. The king himself is worshipped by his people like a deity, and is sometimes compared to Sadakal. Sadakal's followers are known for stripping naked and performing serpentine dance moves during rituals in honor of their god. And in more extreme cases, they practice the ritual of shedding their skin. Redguards, who also worship Sadakal, view this religious offshoot as a group of madmen due to their very controversial traditions. Redguards consider Orgnum's association with Sadakal to be blasphemous and claim that Orgnum will not be spared when the true Sadakal arrives. Orgnum was said to personally lead his armies into battle, riding a magically enchanted sea serpent. Tales describe him as valiant, powerfully built, and intimidating. He was often portrayed using serpentine epithets, possessing many physical traits shared with snakes, such as, for instance, sharp fangs. His skin was said to be white, with an almost gelatinous softness to it, and his eyes were either white or yellow and heavily reminded of a serpent. One thing, however, remains consistent across history about him. Over the years, Orgnum was said to appear increasingly younger rather than older. Not only that, but there are intriguing stories that are associated with Orgnum. One claims that he had an affair with King Lady Heinarwe, an Aldmeri noblewoman from Eleanor. When the affair was revealed, the King Lady relinquished her title and wealth and expelled her family and service from the palace. Disgraced, she locked herself in her family's vault and most likely died there. To commemorate this event, an altar was created, which you can visit on the Somerset Isles at a place called the Vault of Heinarwe. Due to his supposed rejuvenation, some suspect that Orgnum attained immortality, perhaps through rituals, magic, sacrifices, or all of these combined together. He's even sometimes said to have been a vampire. Unfortunately, this has never been confirmed nor denied. The world of Tamriel trembled at the thought of the Sea King and his great fleet, which repeatedly harassed the continent. Particularly significant historically was the moment in the year 110 of the Third Era, shortly before the outbreak of war. At that time, Queen Potema was preparing a plot against her brother, Emperor Antiochus. Her goal was to become empress so that she could later place her son on the throne. To ensure this happens, she arranged a meeting with Orgnum in solitude, where they reached an agreement. In exchange for granting him dominion over the Somerset Isles, Potema would receive the throne. To seal the pact, they went to bed together. Supposedly, he was the best lover she ever had. There's one thing that Potema forgot to mention before sealing the deal. She didn't mention to the Sea King that behind his back she had arranged a meeting with Aikisis, the leader of the Siege Order. She met with the mage and threatened him, manipulated, and caused the order to take up arms against the Maormer fleet. Everything went exactly up to her plan. The war for the Somerset Isles broke out. The Imperial Army and the forces of Somerset Isles could not withstand the onslaught of the Sea Elves, and when all seemed lost, a powerful storm suddenly appeared above the invaders' ships and destroyed the Maormer navy in a single blow. The source of the storm is attributed, of course, to the Siege Order, though it was never confirmed. The war was considered the greatest victory of Emperor Antiochus, and from the year 432 of the Third Era onward, it marked the last documented appearance of the Maormer in Tamriel. It was said that the storm was so violent that Orgnum could not muster sufficient forces to respond. After the war, Orgnum lost his magical chest that provided him alone with unlimited wealth, a magical coffer that filled itself with gold. The loss of his source of infinite riches meant that Orgnum could no longer afford a fleet as vast as he once had, leading to Pyandonia losing a significant portion of its military power. One day, this chest supposedly ended up on the Somerset Isles and has since become an elusive artifact. King Orgnum is remembered only in the annals of history, and his legacy may still endure on the distant islands of Pyandonia. Perhaps, one day, we will hear again of the fate of the Sea King and his Maormer subjects.